Hey there, Jake Dempsey, CEO and co founder of Project Broadcast. We're going to talk about contacts today and how contacts get created in Project Broadcast because, as we know, we can't do text marketing without contacts. In order to get contacts into Project Broadcast, there's really three ways that can occur. You can either receive an inbound message from an unknown phone number. If that happens, we automatically create a contact for you. You can also create contacts manually, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But more importantly, there's the ability to import contacts into Project Broadcast using a CSV file. We're going to leverage a test file that I have on my desktop, and I'll show you how the importer works. Let's pop over to Project Broadcast and take a look at the three different ways you may get contacts into Project Broadcast. First, you can always go to your contacts area in the left-hand navigation and create a contact manually. Notice when I got to the contacts area, I just click plus, and I can create a test contact here by just putting in a name and phone number. Phone number is the only required field currently when creating a contact. I'm just adding the first and last name because obviously you want to capture that if you want to create your contact. So you can create a contact manually like we just did. In a previous video, we talked about custom fields, and you can see even though I created this contact, if I go to look at the custom fields, I've got that customer ID custom field that's already been created for me that I can then put the information in if I want to. If you're not sure what custom fields are, make sure you go back and look at the custom fields video that goes over contact custom fields and user custom fields. The other way you can get contacts in Project Broadcast is just by receiving an incoming text message from a phone number that has never messaged you before. I'll send a quick test message to this phone number, and we'll see that a contact gets created. I just refresh the screen, and we can see that I just got an incoming message from a phone number. This phone number, they said, hey there. And if I look at my contacts, I'll see that contact is actually in there now. So receiving an incoming message from a phone number that is not in your contacts automatically creates a contact. The most powerful way to create contacts in Project Broadcast is using a CSV file. I'm going to go to our contact importer and show you how that process works. From the contacts area, click the three dots and click import contacts. When you go to the import contacts feature, the very first thing you're going to do is select a file to import. Now, I've already got a test file on my desktop. And in fact, let me open that file and I'll show you what it looks like. A CSV file ultimately is just a special type of text file. So let me share my screen. Here I've got the test file open, and as you can see, it's just a text file with the first row being the titles or of the columns. Now, if I were to open this file in Excel, it would look like an Excel file. A CSV is just a saved sheet in an Excel file or numbers file that is printed out in text format. So this is a comma separated file, and it has a mobile number, first name, last name, email, and customer number as a part of the file. Now, most of the time, you're going to get a CSV file from some other system like a back office or some type of CRM that you're using. Now that we've seen the file, let's hop over and take a look at Project Broadcast using that file. So here we are back in Project Broadcast, and what I'm going to do is select an import file. The file that I'm going to select is that test file that's on my desktop. Now, there are two contacts in this file that I'm going to expect that are going to import. Whenever you select your file, you're going to go through this process that we call field mapping. Now, remember, every contact in Project Broadcast has to have a phone number. In the phone number dropdown, what you'll notice is it has a dropdown where the values of the dropdown are all of the columns from my CSV file. Project Broadcast will do its best to try to guess which field in your file represents the phone number. So it looks for things like cell and mobile and phone number. So it guessed mobile number already for me, which is great. It also guessed email. So it guessed that I had an email field in my file. And you'll see that it's got first name and last name. So all I'm doing is mapping all of the different fields in Project Broadcast to the different columns in my CSV file. Now, your CSV file may have 50 columns in it, and you don't want to import all 50 columns, right? You only want to import specific pieces of information. And what this mapping allows you to do is basically define what fields do you want to import into Project Broadcast and what columns have that data in it. You can also leverage the tags. There's another video that we'll go over in tags, but think of tags as just a way to group contacts. Maybe this file represents all my new customers for the month of January. So I'm going to use in the additional tags field something like new customers Jan 2024. I'm pretty explicit when I create tags because I want to make sure that if I'm using like a new customers tag, I've got one for January, February, March. And because there's obviously a January in each year, I would append the word 2024 to it as well. So additional tags means that whenever it imports these contacts, it's going to automatically add all of the contacts to whatever the additional tags are that I define. So in this case, when it creates my two contacts, it's going to automatically create a tag called new customers Jan 2024, and it's going to make sure those contacts get added to that tag. I go through and mapped my first name, I mapped my last name. I don't have company or birthday in any of my file. So I'm going to skip through that. I can add notes. Again, if there's a column that represents notes, but I do have a customer ID, which is one of my custom fields that I wanted to capture on my contact. So I'm going to choose the customer number because I want the importer to store whatever is in the customer number column into the customer ID field in Project Broadcast. So you want to take your time and make sure you go through this mapping and really review it in terms of what's going to be mapped into Project Broadcast. You also have the option of deciding if you only want to import new contacts or import new contacts and update existing. And what that means is, let's pretend you ran an import last month. And then this month you run another import into Project Broadcast. And let's pretend Sally was imported last month. We won't create another Sally contact for you. What we will do is we will update the Sally contact in Project Broadcast with the information in the new import file. Now, you may have a file and you say, well, I don't want to update anyone in Project Broadcast. I just want to add new people that are in this file that are not in Project Broadcast. And that's where you would select this import new contacts only. In my case, there's only 2 test contacts in here. So, either of these options doesn't really matter. I'm going to double check my mapping. Yep. Phone number is in the mobile column. Emails in the email column. I don't have a column that represents tags. An example of that would be, let's pretend you had a column called state in your file, and you want tags or groups in Project Broadcast based on the state of your customer. So you want a Texas tag, and everyone that's in the file that has the word Texas in their state column, you want to be in the Texas tag. You could pick, if state were in my file, you could pick state here, and then whatever's in that whatever value is in that column for that contact, that's what's going to tag the customer. So this is really useful if you've got a piece of information that categorizes your contacts already. Like maybe you've got a list of customers with the state, or maybe you've got a list of customers and there's another way that you group them in terms of what type of customer are they? Are they a VIP? Are they a bronze, a platinum, a diamond customer? And maybe that's in your file. Well, you could import those contacts and have the system automatically tag them as a result of whatever's stored in that column. I don't have that in my test file, so I'm not going to select anything there. I am going to go ahead and tag everyone new customers Jan 24. I want the first and last name imported. And then I selected my customer number under the customer ID because I want Project Broadcast to import whatever's in the customer number column into the customer ID. So everything looks great here. I don't have any additional custom fields. So I'm going to scroll up to the top and I'm going to tap the import button. And Project Broadcast is going to facilitate the import. And it gives me a little bit of an output and tells me how many contacts were created, how many got updated, how many were skipped, and how many errors are there. An example of what would cause an error is, let's pretend that your file has 2 contacts or more than 2 contacts in it with the exact same phone number. Well, since phone number is the primary field in Project Broadcast, we wouldn't know which of those contacts to import, so it won't import any of them. Again, let's pretend there's Sally Jones in your file and Brad Jones in your file, husband and wife, and their phone number is the same on both contact records. We wouldn't import Sally or whatever the person's name, John was. because they share the same phone number. We don't know which contact you'll win. So there are cases where you'll get errors, or sometimes you're importing a file and you don't even have a phone number for a contact. So in that case, you may get an error that there is no phone number for this contact. Now that I've imported this contacts, let's do a quick sanity check to make sure it did what I expected it to do. If I refresh my contacts over here, I can see that it created test contact 1 and test contact 2. And I can even see in this little sub information here that it's in the tag new customers January 2024. I could also go to the tags area of Project Broadcast, and there's the tag that it created, new customers January 2024. And if I click it, I can see there's actually 2 contacts. So it looks like the import created the 2 contacts for me. It also created the tag new customers Jan 2024 and made sure to put those 2 contacts into that tag. Let's also just go double check that it filled in the customer ID. So let's go to one of these test contacts, and we can see there's one of our custom fields filled out. The customer ID has been set for this contact. And if I look at the other one, it's also been set. So the importer took my list of contacts, created those contacts, tagged them for me, and updated the custom field. Now, your file may be a mix of new contacts and existing contacts. And what Project Broadcast will do is it will say, hey, do I already have a contact with this phone number? If so, update that contact based on the import field, on the file that you provided, unless you told it to only import new contacts. And then if there are new contacts in the file, it will create those new contacts and then give you an error output whenever it runs into an error. That's the fastest way to get contacts into Project Broadcast, is using the contact importer. And what you find is you typically do importing at some cadence, whether it's weekly or monthly, probably from your back office or CRM. Again, you can always create contacts manually, and contacts get created when you get incoming messages from those folks as well. But 3 ways: incoming message creates a contact. You can create one manually and using the contact importer. And even with the contact importer, you can always go to training.projectbroadcast.com and look for the contact importer training. Is there's another training on the training.projectbroadcast.com website as well that digs into the contact importer. The most important thing to realize about the contact importer is it's just a flexible importer. Your file doesn't have to be in a specific format, other than the very first row in your file should be the titles, i.e. first name, last name, phone number, what have you. And then when you go to import your file, you just want to map your columns to Project Broadcast fields and tap the import button. And that's it.